Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a quote unquote new beginning for the X button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me, it's the always lovely.
Paul, hey everyone.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this new format, trying this out, and I need to not do all of my usual stock phrases like, "All right, what are we playing this
Yeah, I
week?
know.
What is this?"
I will
Um,
help you. I will help you guide you.
I am trying, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah,
So,
for everyone coming in right now, and if you have checked the channel, we have been running this podcast since we originally started the podcast back in 2020 in an initial run that then we halted like when the pandemic hit, and then we kind of wanted to rethink a little bit, and then we came back as a video show in May this year, if I remember correctly. And we kept the same format, and while cutting a few of the things that we used to do, now we're experimenting now with basically splitting what would have been in one episode into two separate things. So right now, like if you're tuning in right now, this will be what used to be the press X for some news section of our show. Now it's its own thing. We're still thinking where to still call it press X for some news or even calling it something else. But the purpose of this is going to be that every Monday, we're always going to recap the previous week's news. So either Monday all the way until Sunday, which was serendipitous with Sunday, with one thing, tiny thing that happened there. But that way, we don't have to kind of worry about always having to shift our show around to hope that we're kind of getting the breaking news. We're just recapping. And then we're gonna be having our own the own section of what are the games that we have been playing or a topic from Paul's choosing that he always will surprise me with. He never tells me beforehand what the topic will be, so I can kind of think in the fly. That's
yep.
gonna be live on Wednesdays. But if you're an audio listener, all of those sections are still gonna be all together, and it will be going live on Thursdays. So, but for the YouTube audience, it's going to be its own thing on Mondays and Wednesdays. This will probably allow us to maybe not go as long usually, but or have a little bit more time to breathe in some of these sections that sometimes when we were always recording all together, we were always very subconscious about not trying to go overtime, and that we thought that maybe we didn't need to have kind of that how can I say that pressure and feeling like
Yeah.
we're shortchanging some stuff. And it's just going to be better for us like in the long run. We're hoping. So how do you think of this change, Paul?
I'm excited for it. It's going to be that what I hope is that variety that really adds the spice to what we need for us ourselves. For the audience, it's not going to be as long of episodes. It'll be easier to jump in, jump out wherever they like, listen to the things they like. If they like news, watch the whole episode on news, stay away from everything else. If you do like what I recommend, on what we're playing, and the other one with my topics because I'm a little biased and I love those. So
Yes.
it's going to be nice,
I
and
think we both win in this one.
yeah,
In a
we
way,
get a little bit of everything.
yes. So can't wait for whenever we record our next one. But yeah, for now, this is the news show, Paul. And without preamble, until we find out a new name for it, because our friend Zach, who has been in two episodes from our previous format, he's thinking about a clever new title, and he is the creative side of our group, basically. Like some of the things that he comes up with, like, how can it be so clever? How didn't I think of that? So, all right, without much more preamble, Paul, press X.
Or some news.
All right, Paul, like ironically, the last time we recorded an episode, we recorded right before a Nintendo Direct was going to happen. You can
We
listen to
did.
that episode right now.
We did have
And
a full reaction to it, like you said.
oh, yes, it was a reaction that we definitely recorded right at the time that it was happening. There was like no delays. Someone
Nope.
didn't get spoiled at
Immediately.
all. So
Everything is fresh and
there may
new.
have been or may not have been historical lapse, but yeah, there was the Nintendo Direct for the fall. They usually always launch a Nintendo Direct around September, with the exception of last year when there was no direct because Nintendo was hibernating. Um, we got this Nintendo Direct for their winter releases and beyond. That's what's interesting there, because usually when they're like, Nintendo's pretty good, I'll always be like, no, we're only gonna be talking about this, and then
Yeah.
they kind of throw a bone about something from far beyond.
Hmm.
So yeah, the headliners of this Nintendo Direct include the reveal of a new Kirby game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land,
Kirby.
which looked very Last of Us in a way. I made the joke. This like, was this Nintendo Last of Us? No, it was Kirby. It's coming in spring 2022, so around April to June of next year. Splatoon 3 reiterated it's targeting 2022. I could have sworn that when they originally revealed Splatoon 3 in the first Nintendo Direct this year, they had put a 2023 date, but I could have been wrong, but it's still targeting 2022. Bayonetta 3, the thing that closed out the show, getting revealed after being dormant since originally being teased back at the Game Awards 2017, the Nintendo Switch first year. Think about that.
Bayonetta got like cut in half
Yeah.
briefly, and that was weird. But we got gameplay this time. That was a
Yes.
huge thing.
So now we know it exists. And I have a little
Yes.
interesting tidbit about that one after we
What's up?
finish this.
Oh, okay.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like blue balling its audience and thinking that they were getting the final Smash character revealed in that direct. They announced that they're having a final Smash direct on October 5th. So next week. The internet will absolutely not burn over whoever that character will be.
It doesn't matter who it is, it's not going to be enough.
Yes. Animal Crossing getting another free update and also a game-centric direct for later this year. People think it's later in October, but who knows? They didn't date it, but they said it's also happening. Nintendo Switch Online getting a new paid tier called the Expansion Pack, which is very fun, in a very tongue-in-cheek way, because they're adding Nintendo 64 games to it and also Genesis. The Expansion Pack is what you would put into your N64 to play some of the later games from that console. So very cheeky that they called it that, and it was an add-on.
Yeah.
And the news that stole the show, Shigeru Miyamoto showing up despite everyone thinking he's retired to both confirm the release window for the Mario movie and confirming the movie's cast. Paul, what do you think of this Nintendo Direct?
Well, like we mentioned in our actual episode, I would say it's above average. We had some really interesting stuff. We had some really terrible stuff that we laughed at. I would say only a couple of them might have been like mediocre. I would say like the Animal Crossing brief trailer to say that there was going to be its own direct showing up was a little weird. I don't appreciate the Smash Direct stuff saying, oh yeah, we're gonna show that as well, and then saying, and that is going to be
October
later. And like they know what they're doing. I don't appreciate it after a while. It's like, all right, it worked a couple times. It was funny, but it's eventually it's like, all right, you know what we're about. Let's move it along and show some other actually interesting things. But overall, I mean, 3D Kirby, Bayonetta 3, your God, whatever else was going on in there. The Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, that I didn't mention some of the tiny stuff. Yeah,
there.
Knights of the Republic, the old version, releasing in November.
Castlevania collection
That dropped.
That in there.
Yeah, because I only mentioned the headliners, the big things, but yeah, tiny things like even the Castlevania collection stealth dropping basically announced at that moment, and also a remaster remake of ActRaiser, a very niche RPG also from Square Enix also dropped there.
Which I do watch a couple of YouTubers. One of them, Maximilian dude, who is like a little older than us, and he's like already has a child and everything. But he was super blown away by that and recognized it. So I was like, okay, so that was more for the previous generation, absolutely. But like, I mean, props to them for doing something that was older and more for that whole generation that kind of grew up with it. Because if I was around during that kind of a remake, I probably would be losing my mind too. It looks like really good gameplay as well.
Yeah, I always say that in some of the previous episodes that whenever you do one of these shows, if you can get away at least 3 things that you're very excited for, they did their job. That was is former Sony studio head Adam Boyce. He always said that we always pack these shows that not everything is going to be for everyone, but if you can get at least 3 out, then we know we did our job. So I would say yes.
And yeah, I mean, like as you and I said, we never see any sales for Nintendo stuff, but if I can ever find Kirby in the Forgotten Land, it seems like a fun little weekend's worth of playtime.
Yeah, it's like they're so annoying that they never drop out of $60 with these games, right? Other than just some tiny times that it goes down to $41.99. the big thing for me here was the stupid movies cast of the
I was
Mario
gonna leave
movie.
that for the end,
Oh
so
my
I'm
god.
glad.
Yeah, before we go there, the thing that I was excited for most of all of this is actually the Nintendo Switch Online stuff.
That's
That
true.
we're
I
that
do
we're
want to hear more details.
yeah, I want to hear what the price is because right now it's $20 and this is like an add-on tier to that,
Right.
an expansion pack, like mentioned. I hope it's at least just $10 more because the online service of the Nintendo Switch, like when you're actually playing online, it's straight up trash.
I'd
It's
say it's not worth the
abysmal.
$20
Yeah,
you
it's
pay
like
for it.
that's the thing. Like I wouldn't pay those $20 to play online. I'm playing it because of the games that they gave us with the Super Nintendo and the normal Nintendo stuff. That library has like pretty much every game that I would want from it, like the big Nintendo stuff. So,
Right.
and with this N64 thing, is like just finally having in the Switch Zelda Ocarina of Time and also in the future Majora's Mask, that basically takes care of enough of the Zelda library. We're only missing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD that
Yep.
we keep getting the rumors that it's done. They're just kind of sitting on it, and then they're just gonna
Yeah.
put it out there sometime. Plus, we already went through the Skyward Sword shenanigans. Finally, that game's not finally out there for
We're
the
not
10
gonna
people
talk
that
about
like it.
it.
Um, but yeah, this movie, like, so first off, like, I thought Shigeru Miyamoto was retired because he hasn't worked in the game in forever. But he shows up in this direct, be like, yeah, there is this Mario movie, and it's
I mean,
coming
he's
in.
probably working with them in that capacity,
Oh
but maybe
yeah,
not like developing anymore. Um,
it's what he did when he consulted for Mario and Rabbids with Ubisoft. He
yeah.
was the dude that was there also. Chris Pratt is Mario.
I want you to get your thoughts out here all at once. Go ahead and just light it up.
I thought I was being pranked. I was like, what, list a bunch of actors from like a fan cast or like the most ironic fan cast imaginable
The
and
one
put it
that's
in
like
here.
people who have watched like 10 movies in the last 5 years, and it's like, I recognize that name. Let's put him in there.
No, or someone Google famous actors.
Yeah.
Then here it is. Let's add them. But I was like, when I just to know better, I watched the Nintendo Direct before you did. That's the thing. Like I waited for you to. I watched it with you in our reacts, having known what was happening, and I still cracked up at that part. Especially like it because it just kept getting funnier and funnier. Because it was like Chris Pratt, you're like, what? Then the Anna Taylor Joy girl what's the movie? She was
She
in the
was
New
in Queen's
Mutants.
Game.
Yeah, I think Queen's Gambit is the
Gambit, that's what it
yeah.
was.
Yeah, I know she's big in Queen's Gambit and The Witch, I think it's something it's called. So he's like, yeah, she's blonde, like she's blonde and all that. It's like, yeah, I can see what they would pick that as a peach. But then getting Mr. Pepe Sylvia himself, Charlie Day as Luigi, and just thinking that manic scene from It's Always Sunny, like crack me up.
I
And then we
just
go to
pictured Luigi doing that whole scene in his voice.
yeah.
You got to know that's going to be a thing. Like they'll just
I
use
need
his
you to do a
voice.
Photoshop of of Charlie Day with like that string singer and dressed as Luigi. I have to put that
I
out there.
wonder if I can even find it already.
Yeah. Seeing about and then Jack Black as Bowser. That was like, okay, he Jack Black does enough of like a very manic acting that I
Mhm.
can kind of buy it. But then we go to Keenan Michael Keys, that guy from
Yeah,
Kim
for
Peele
Toad.
as Toad, and then Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. And I saw this horrible someone found a Donkey Kong animation and then just interspliced like Seth Rogen's very
Oh,
famous way that he laughs. It
yeah.
was it was horrifying. And and I think Cranky was there. I don't remember what the three other
I don't
actors were
remember
that
his
had
name.
Cranky and all that, but those were like the big ones. And what's ironic is that they had the actual voice of Mario, Charles Martinet, in the movie, but he's not voicing Mario. It's like this is being made, Paul, by the way, by the Minions guy.
Yeah.
So
Which okay, so my thoughts on it, I want to remain cautiously optimistic because we haven't seen anything from the movie yet. If it's from Illumination, I would assume it's going to have like that really like bouncy feel to
mhm.
it that they don't really hold too hard to actual physics, unlike like Pixar, where every amount of physics in the real world exists no matter how fantastical their setting is. But Illumination, it'll squash, it'll stretch, it'll really get that movement out of it, which I appreciate. And for a Mario movie, I think that'll look fantastic. The problem will be in their idea of I call it the chopped problem, where if you're watching the Food Network ever, and they ask them to create something, they never want to create what you and I would think sounds delicious. They'll say, "Oh, it's this thing with a fusion of this other thing," and everyone always asks, "Why do you do this? Why don't you just make the cool burger? Why do you have to add like an Asian fusion to it? Why does this makes no sense?" It's the same situation when you're adapting things like video games to a movie and all of the other media, wherever, why ever they do it. I don't understand. But when you're jumping media, it feels like you have to transition it into something completely different. And that seems to be the case here because they want to use the biggest name actors. They want to use all the crazy things and they want to transform it into something that will hold the test of time or whatever. They're not even calling it Super Mario though. It's just
It's just
Mario.
Mario. They're going
Mario.
the Logan route.
Yeah. That being said, on the what I think could be the positive side is most of these people all have voice acting credits already.
Chris
We've
Pratt
seen,
with the Lego movie,
yeah, I
basically.
mean that's the biggest one. Chris Pratt in the Lego movie, like he did a decent job. I'll give him credit for it. Like I laughed like crazy at that movie. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't remember if Peach ever did anything, but of course Seth Rogen has done his infamous voice acting, and as long as he doesn't laugh, he's done a decent job. Um,
It's his
Charlie
laugh, right?
Day,
Like, yeah, Seth Rogen is defined by his laugh. Ooh, the whole
uh, bring me Solo and the Wookiee. But like Jack Black and Charlie Day, I think will be fantastic. I still feel like Charlie Day doesn't really fit with Luigi unless they're going for some weird manic,
time.
crazy
It has
Luigi.
to be. You have to do
Um,
Manic if you're bringing
but that
Charlie Day.
sounds like it would be hilarious. So like just doing my own extrapolation for this and Jack Black included at all.
This has got to be a
Keegan Michael
comedy.
Key feels weird as Toad, but maybe he did something that they clearly liked.
Maybe they like Key and Peele enough, and they couldn't get Jordan Peele
They
in, so
watched
they
Toy Story 4 once and went, "Oh, we like that first guy. Just
yeah.
ignore the second one though." But I mean, I think it's really possible they could do something. I do feel like in a perfect world, Charles Martinet should absolutely be Mario. I mean, he's been doing it for that long. You got to put some respect on his name, but I am glad that he's at least involved.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's going to do something that like maybe there was a scheduling conflict. Maybe there was something else going on and they were like, all right, well, we can't get him for this whole movie. Maybe just some of it. I don't know.
No,
But
maybe they could like gotten him because Charles Martinet is not like a big name. They got the big name stars because that's what drives seats into
I mean,
theaters,
yeah.
basically. So
It's true. I'm just trying to like justify it in my own way that'll make me accept it a little better, I think. But I feel like it's also no longer people above the age of like 16. We shouldn't have any opinions on this. In the end, it's not made for us. It
mhm.
shouldn't be made for us. And I'm gonna watch it whenever it comes to digital. I'm gonna read the discourse. I'm gonna laugh about it,
Mhm.
and one day I'm going to
Look
get
back
like
on
a
it.
glass of rum and coke and watch it with a couple friends and think this is the dumbest thing ever, and it's gonna be
I
great.
hope it goes all in on comedy. I will not
I
love
really do
nothing
too.
because like even like a movie like Sonic the Hedgehog, I think that movie works because of comedy. Basically, it's like
It's
you
got
kind of
heart too. It's
yeah,
charm. Jim Carrey, even though he's kind of doing his own thing, it's like feels like people are having fun, and it's weird.
and
Um,
it resonated. I mean, it's getting a sequel,
I
so this
know.
Mario movie better resonate because that'd be hilarious if Sonic gets a sequel and not Mario, considering the duo's eternal rivalry history.
Imagine if they both succeed and then there's a crossover movie.
That'd be amazing. Because
That'd be
that's the thing.
good.
Because that's the thing. Like, could you do Mario in the way that Sonic happen, like, like an animated thing with like real people. I mean, they already toyed with that with Mario Odyssey in
Yeah,
New
that
Donk
just
City, and that
didn't
was
look right.
unsettling.
Which is funny because apparently Mario has some kind of shrinking effect on people around him because Paulina was just as tall as all the normal humans, but in
Mhm.
Mario Golf, she is also small like Mario. Um, and if you put her next to the Mario Odyssey map, she's like half the height of the normal people again. So that was weird.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, like I said at the start, I'm gonna remain cautiously optimistic until I see a trailer about this,
Mhm.
and maybe we'll see. Like, I want to hear them in the characters. I want to see
Yeah.
everybody really in their element, and
I
then
need
I'm
to hear
gonna
his
make a
Mario. I
decision.
need to hear Chris Pratt's Mario. What is he gonna do? Like a fake Italian? Is it just gonna be Chris Pratt? I want to hear like the approach that they go for it.
I'm thinking he might just do like a straight up Chris Pratt, but higher pitch. Because I can't see him doing like a full Italian thing without sounding like really insensitive. So,
But I'll say though, the photoshops of everyone like photoshopping the Jurassic World picture of
I know
him with the dinosaurs, like
it's
dressing
like,
as Mario
well,
and his
Mario
Yoshi.
and Luigi. I mean, Mario and Yoshi.
And
Shoot.
Yoshi. Oh man, it's like the internet was aflame in the best possible way when that happened, when this news happened. That was the talk of that direct, and I wouldn't have it any other way because it gave me some of the best laughs I've had watching one of these shows.
It's low stakes cringe is what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna
Oh,
file
yes.
that away.
I just hope that it happens to me. What happened to me when I saw the Detective Pikachu trailer, the very first one. I was
True.
shook at how good Detective Pikachu looked, and even more shook that that
It
movie was
sounded.
good.
Yeah. I
So
mean, it was like a decent animated movie, I would say. And it wasn't like crazy in any one direction, but it's probably the Pokemon movie I enjoyed the most, at least in recent memory. Because,
then the only live action one also.
well,
So
yeah, definitely the only live action one, but I just like that one also had heart, and it was very much carried by the charisma of Ryan Reynolds.
do you remember the first Pokemon movie where Ash got turned into stone by
Oh
Mewtwo
yeah.
and Mew?
I mean,
That is the
I think
classic.
that's seared into my brain now. It's
Yeah. I
I'm
remember
never gonna
crying in the theater as a kid watching that. Is like that really hits you in the soul.
I watched it pretty late actually on TV, and I was like, "Oh shoot, this is crazy. What is this going on?" Because I didn't know it was like, "Oh, this is the first movie or whatever." It was just, this is a Pokemon movie. Everything looks way better animated, and Ash is here for some reason, and then
Mhm.
he just dies. I was like, "Oh, is this why Ash like didn't show up in one of those other shows?" Because they did like Pokemon Chronicles or something
Mhm.
with some of the other characters. And so I was like, is that why he's not here? Did he die? Did he turn into a stone or something? And then they
Yeah.
did their thing.
Yeah, we have to bring in Zach to have Pokemon talk because he's the Pokemon trainer, literally.
Yeah, my whole Pokemon story getting into that is so weird and delayed from everyone else. So it would be nice compared to some people who like, oh, I was watching it or playing it from the beginning.
I remember that anime, that Pokemon anime was I got into it right as it came out. And also my dad bought me a PC version of Blue and Red. It was like emulated. You can play
Oh,
both
it was
red
like
and
they made
blue.
a PC version of
Yeah,
that.
it was like some weird way that you could actually play those games on PC.
Wow,
And I played that. That's how I played Pokemon. I didn't have a Game Boy Color. And I have such special memories of that Pokemon, of those early Pokemon games. Even though Yellow is my favorite.
true.
So
I feel it. Well,
no,
I think that was just about everything. Yeah,
yeah.
for the Nintendo at least.
Yeah, Nintendo was okay, but it had the most memorable moment ever in that movie. So number two, ironically, in the same day as that Nintendo Direct, in a very late tweet on Thursday night, Microsoft owned studio The Initiative, which Microsoft opened in 2018 and dubbed them a new quadruple A studio, announced that they were partnering with Crystal Dynamics for co-development on the Perfect Dark reboot they officially unveiled at the Game Awards 2020. This is a curious announcement because the studio has been going for almost 40 years and they just announced they're still early in development and they're partnering with the studio that's owned by Square Enix. While there is some connected tissue there with the initiative and Square Enix having shared a studio head in Darren Gallagher. Darren Gallagher worked at Crystal Dynamics before he went to the initiative.
Uh-huh.
I think this announcement raises many questions surrounding this project, like how much longer it's going to take for development, what's the shape of it, like what's even going on at the initiative, what is even going on at Microsoft first party development. Paul, what are your thoughts?
All right, so I'm piecing together whatever I'm seeing in this written out paragraph, and everything that tells me is this wasn't a priority from them at all. Like the fact that Microsoft really hyped this up, it sounds like a PR kind of like marketing side of the team, really wanting to hype up people and getting an email saying, "Hey, we got to hype up this new grouping that is partnered with us," but there's like no actual connection there. So they're like, "Oh yeah, it's quadruple A studio. It's going to be amazing. We got this whole thing."
Yeah.
And then the actual development is like not nearly where they think it is. And then only just now were they like either clearly overhyped or they're not prepared or they're too young or something, that Crystal Dynamics needs to come in as the veteran to help them out with this. What were you going to say?
So the big hype about this studio was that they poached high level talent from Sony
Yeah.
Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, even Crystal Dynamics, that California development scene. They opened that new thing and be like, hey, all you new you veterans that want to like all work together on this new thing by Microsoft, come here. And that's why we're working. That's why they dubbed them a quadruple A studio, because triple A development is like the high budget, big games. Then
Yeah.
calling them quadruple A is like, no, what we're doing here is serious. This is gonna be
Yeah.
huge and all that. And my thing is that this thing has had this high level of talent since like 2018, and over time has been like adding them. Ironically, one of that high level talent, Drew Murray, who worked at who was the director of Sunset Overdrive over at Insomniac, who also has a California office there. He went to their initiative, and then literally 2 months after they unveiled that what they had been working on was Perfect Dark,
Mm.
he left and rejoined Insomniac. And
Let me I think given that new information that helps me explain a few things as well. So you probably understand this concept, but for any listeners and watchers, when you have a great team that is made of a lot of different personalities, when you take the cream of the crop of like a lot of different things, what the problem is that you take usually the same personality type out of that, and then you put all of those same
oh yeah,
people with the same
it's
personality
like in
types in
sports. It's
there.
like you get all the heads,
Exactly.
like the heads into sport.
When you have such a great team, the reason is because of that crazy variety and the different roles that people play. Like some people need to be at that stage front, some people really need to be in the support, and some people prefer to be in the support as well. But when you put all of those main people in together, they're not going to usually jive together. They're going to butt heads. They're going to have the same creative ideas that are going to come against each other. None of them are going to want to step down. There's a lot of active, there's a lot of driven, there's a lot of type A, and that's the problem that you come into, especially when you're a Microsoft trying to do something like this. Say, hey, we have the resources of all these places, we're just going to bring all the best of that to this spot. And what you do is you turn that into a battle royale Thunderdome rather than an
Mhm.
actual creative cooperative development.
It's the only explanation as to why that studio has been going for 40 years and their game is still in early development.
Mhm.
It's like, say what you
Everyone's
will
fighting
about,
each other.
yeah, say what you will, because I'm going to get into the Square Enix Crystal Dynamics dynamic of it all in a bit, but say what you will about Microsoft, I have no idea what's going on with their first party development, especially having all these studios together.
I feel like
What?
our opinion on them keeps flip flopping.
Yes, because that's the thing. Like, through our previous format of the show, I have been praising Microsoft to hell and high water by all the consumer friendly moves that they've been doing with the Game Pass and the ease of use of their backwards compatibility, their smart delivery, especially when
Putting things
PlayStation has just
free
been,
to play.
yeah. And they had to also backtrack of them forcing people to buy Xbox Live to play free to play. They made it free to play.
Hmm.
They do everything right except put out a damn game from their studios, like excluding those that were already in development that they scooped up. Like, for example, Psychonauts 2 is one of the best reviewed games of this year, one of a lot of people's favorite games. They bought Double Fine in like
Yeah.
2019. That game was already in development. So it's not like it's something that they just scooped it up and put it under their umbrella. We still don't even have Halo Infinite It's still coming in December. It's having a beta right now. It's like being pretty well developed. It's being very well received still. Uh, the campaign is still people's worries because they still don't show that thing.
True.
And then the only thing that they have reliably put out has been Forza, which is Forza Horizon 5 is coming out this year. But then what's going on with the non-Bethesda acquisition like studios that they have acquired? They haven't put out anything. And now reading this, they're not going to be putting out a Perfect Dark until what, 2024? Maybe 2025 if this is still in early development. And this is quadruple A that's supposed to be high budget. God of War, it's like I would consider like a quadruple A level project. That took 5 years.
Right.
So it's like, I don't get what's happening there.
Unless Crystal Dynamics just takes over completely, I can't see this being a quick turnaround.
And here's the rub, Paul, because I went into Libica. I think you can find a studio in like LinkedIn. I don't know. I saw this floating around on Twitter. The initiative only has 70 people in it. 70. Crystal Dynamics has 300 people in it. Why are you calling this a quadruple A studio if it's only 70 people there?
If this is quadruple A, I don't know what Insomniac is.
Yeah, right. Quintuple A, probably, with like the 1,000 people that obviously we made the joke that they have like 10,000 people working there. That's obviously just a joke, but with all the games that they put out, because they staffed up a lot, because you need to staff up to do this.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's no secret in AAA development or like development at this caliber to have support studios to help you put out a game. Like, it's been reported that The Last of Us Part 2 was not always made by Naughty Dog. They had a bunch of support studios, like in Malaysia and all of that goes up to 2,000 people that got that game pushed out the door, because you need that kind of manpower to put out that game at that level of fidelity and quality. But they're not doing it just as support studio. They're bringing an entire like actual AAA developers, Crystal Dynamics, to help develop this. And this is not even ignoring the fact that they're still in Avengers duty. And when they put this out, they also mentioned that they're still working on Tomb Raider, which is interesting because they haven't worked on Tomb Raider since Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I thought that was the end of that series, was Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider wasn't even made by them. It was made by Eidos Montreal, the guys that are making Guardians of the Galaxy now. They did that because they were working on Avengers. They, after Rise of the Tomb Raider,
did Deus Ex.
Yes, Eidos Montreal also did Deus Ex. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Eidos Montreal did Deus Ex, did Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and are now finishing up Guardians of the Galaxy, which some previews came out last week say that it's surprisingly decent. People said that, people liken the team-based combat to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So that's rose my eyebrows, but we'll have to wait to see here.
It almost looked like Final Fantasy 15, like combo attacks and stuff, but at least like you had more control over it, which would make sense they would do 7 Remake, because you could more specifically control everybody's individual moves and switch characters real quick to do something like that. And like Tales of Arise, another one in there that I might pick up at like Christmas time or something.
Same, because I've heard many good things, and I heard Tales games are very easy to just jump in each one. It's like the Final Fantasy conundrum, that they don't have like a continuity. Yeah, but they are now bringing in, like I was mentioning, Crystal Dynamics. It's funny that now they're actually bringing a team that has on record more staff people than even the initiative. It's just like, what a PR mess. They should have never said that was a quadruple A studio if you're only going to be that understaffed. And just think about like how mismanaged you are, that you have to bring in a third party from a different publisher to help you work on this game. You don't even have support studios within your own family that you can be like, hey, come work on that. Like Gears of War developer, the Coalition, is helping finish Halo Infinite. They had to be like, hey, come help us finish it. So they don't even have from their own things. It's like Microsoft Game Studios is a mess. Continues to be.
I think that's one of the problems is Microsoft purchased all of these previously created studios to do these things. The problem is they each have their own identity still. Like Sony what do they call it? A Sony
or Worldwide Studios.
Yeah. But like that is their thing, that is from the company, that is part of the company, that's called the company's name, and that's all they are. And then like even if they're going to do something like your Blue Point, right? where whichever one that does all the remasters, like you're
The one
buying
they
a
bought
company.
Nixus, like
Yeah,
The
Nexus.
Nixus. Blue Point
So they're
still TBD.
buying something. Yeah, right. They didn't really confirm that one. Every time you do something like that, that company is made to support other companies, and like that was very clear because their resume kind of said that. But this is like, all right, we're buying all these cool companies, and like they're buying companies that work on very niche, very specific types of
Hmm.
games. That's not going to jump back and forth very easily
Hmm.
about. You're using different engines, different textures, different systems, different geographic locations,
And
and like,
Sony's shared technology, like Decima, the technology from Gorilla
yeah,
that powers Horizon. That's a technology that's been like shared around by for all the studios. They have like more they have a better network of development with the different
there's
studios, even if they have their own
infrastructure.
identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Microsoft kind of went the consumer route of, like, when you look at something like consumer looking at the way Sony is laid up, they said, all right, let me copy that, but with none of like the context. They just said, all right, I'm going to grab all of these things and then I'm going to make that mine. But the problem is they didn't do any of like the infrastructure work. So now there's all of these crazy unconnected
They're figuring all
systems,
of this out as it goes along.
but they're doing it such a let's throw everything at the wall and use resources until it comes together naturally. We're not going to like mold this. We're just going to break it all and then kind of like Lego it, you know? We're going to
Mhm.
just throw it, break it all and kind of put it into a pile and say, "All right, this is our new creation. Isn't it so cool?" But it's like you didn't put any of the pieces together. You didn't build it right.
Yeah.
Um
Microsoft
it
is running headstrong into what Sony had to figure out over almost 3 generations since the PS2 as they kept
yeah,
growing their first parties. Like this takes time. It takes
it
time to
does.
get it as a well-oiled machine.
And I
And
mean,
they waited too long,
yeah.
way too long to start investing in that. And now seeing this kind of mess is exactly why it's like it just shows that they're still in that growing pain area. It's like it doesn't matter how flashy the PR is that they have all these studios, they still haven't put out anything worth a damn. That's not the tried and true. And it's an embarrassment that they have to bring in a third party. Crystal
I want
Dynamics.
to push back real quick because I know we can be cynical about it, but think about it. If you find yourself, say you wake up one day and you're Microsoft and you realize that Sony is has built exactly what we just talked about, um, how else are you going to do that without, like, if you have these resources and you want to one day get to that point, I'm actually a little impressed with Microsoft at least acknowledging this and trying to address it. They might not be executing it well,
Mhm.
but the fact that they're trying to push this together, they're trying to get this connection, they're trying to get this cooperation to happen, I think is good for the industry in general, because maybe it won't work for the next 1, 5, or even 10 years, but one day Microsoft is going to have this system that I think is going to really help them.
Yeah, it would be how I see this is that they figured it out way too late because it means that they were pissing at the rain for 4 years just with the initiative.
True.
And when they finally announced what they were working on, I thought that was like finally after 4 years of them concepting, they were finally entering the ramping up now. We're near the home stretch to get this out. And maybe they realized that they were not even remotely close and they hit the panic button and see who they could help. And in this case, kind of what I mentioned, Darren Gallagher, he used to work at Square Enix with
Yeah.
over at Crystal Dynamics. And he works at the initiative. Maybe he still had some pull from his old team, and they would be like, "Hey guys, I know how you guys work. We work together. We need help. Is there any way we can make this work?" And that's how they brought in. And also, we have to remember that Crystal Dynamics did Rise of the Tomb Raider as an Xbox One exclusive for a year in 2015. So there has always been that kind of like closer relationship with them, even though they're a third party. So that's the only way I see this working, but it still doesn't make it any less of a mess. Just knowing how long this team has been going and how it was pitched. It is just another because this even doesn't go into the whole thing that happened with Rare with Everwild that they announced in 2019 that game,
Yeah.
and then they came out last year to be like, we don't even know what the concept of this thing is. We're restarting development, so maybe just a 2024 thing. It's like they literally are a mess in development, and they have to be thankful that they have won the PR battle with all the consumer friendly things because this would sunk
Yeah.
anyone else if you were not winning the PR battle.
That is
So,
true. But a shout out to the PR team that seems to be holding it down with
oh yeah, they're literally holding
that.
they're holding the whole mess that is there. And also thank God for Bethesda, because at least Bethesda has a development culture there that puts out games.
And they don't even just have that culture, but they have an entire support system within Bethesda itself.
Yeah, they
To
just inherited all of that basically with that massive purchase.
that, I will say, was a really great decision on
Oh
their
yeah,
part.
the more I think about it, it's like that was more sure, because now seeing, if they had not bought Bethesda, now seeing the mess that is just the teams that they had already started or work or had things already working before this purchase. Microsoft, I'm always rooting for Microsoft because I want them to always be the one that give Sony a kick in the balls, to always strive for be better, because that kind of competition is
Yeah.
what you need.
You
But
want that the Super Saiyan mindset. You want them to beat each other up so they can both be stronger. And then that
literally,
through that helping us do our thing. And then eventually they'll get the God of Destruction Nintendo over here
uh-huh.
to look our way and say, "Oh, that looks cool. Let me try that." And then it just does their own thing and exceeds at it
When
immediately.
all of them compete that way, it's that's
Yeah,
how we all win as gamers.
right.
I don't want it to
Maybe
just be like a complete like landslide of what happened with PS4, that it was so predictable that
right.
then it made Sony become so um not even team, but they just rested on their laurels because they won the battle so definitively they could just
Oh
coast
yeah.
by.
But
So
and like even the smallest level of like the Stadia helping popularize the idea of cloud gaming and helping Nintendo actually do something with their garbage hardware to
do cloud versions
actually
of games.
have third party top tier games actually showing up. I wish they did it more, but
Mm-hmm.
and not just like, hey, we're gonna finally put Dying Light 1 on our system.
Yeah.
Isn't that great, guys?
But now
But
Dying
like,
Light 2 is gonna be day and date, but it's a cloud version.
I mean,
So
yeah, but just the fact that that's what you pick for a third party game, you're not going to put anything else on there. But anyway, I'm glad that all of this stuff is kicking these people where they need
mhm.
it and helping them build themselves. Microsoft obviously needing a lot of infrastructure help. Maybe one day. So, I mean, well, Sony is supposed to be working with Discord for a new party system. So we'll see
Mhm.
that sometime next year. And hopefully they'll learn to do either away with PlayStation Now or do something different that makes it a lot better to merge it
Yeah.
with PlayStation Plus.
And
Who
more than
knows?
anything, like in the Microsoft side, I just want them to finally put out games that they can be proud of, that they don't seem like they have to go through hell every time. Like what we're even seeing with Halo Infinite. That feels like that thing is the definitive popping the house on fire saying this is fine.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get it out by December here. So it's sad because I never would have expected Microsoft to struggle. It's like you get all the little things right, but you fail at the big thing, which is putting out games. Whereas Sony nails the big thing and gets all the little things wrong. It's so
Yeah.
funny. They're like literally mirror images of each other in opposite ways, or the two sides of the different coin.
Hmm.
But yeah. Number
On to
three.
the next one.
Yes. Number three, Paul. You're a big Titanfall fan, right?
I am.
Being a Titanfall fan sucks because you get this kind of jerking around thing. Um, Respawn got into a bit of a contradiction this past week, where especially with the existence of Titanfall 3, during a stream, a personal stream, the community manager was asked if Titanfall 3 was being worked on, and he frankly answered that it's not in the works, that we shouldn't get our hopes up, and that Respawn is right now working on other projects, which we all presume is a sequel to their highly claimed Jedi Fallen Order from 2019, and more continuous development onto still thriving Apex Legends. That thing is still a top 5 game on Steam.
It
Um,
is justifiably so. They've put a lot of effort into new maps, new weapons, new characters, and a lot of other things going on there.
However, a day
However,
after the community manager said that, Respawn Twitter put this. Contrary to what some folks are reporting, Titanfall is the very core of our DNA. Who knows what the future holds? Considering Titanfall 3 was part of the NVIDIA leak we saw like 2 weeks ago, the existence or lack thereof of this game is continuously a point of frustration for big fans of this series.
what are your
Here,
thoughts, real quick?
here's the reality: Titanfall 2 didn't sell well. But that's not the game's fault. It wasn't Respawn's fault. That was EA's fault.
It's
That
still
has
one of the
been
best shooters I've ever played.
the best shooter of this last generation besides Destiny 2 for me. Like, that's an underplayed masterpiece and still remains an underplayed masterpiece. And I'm glad that Apex Legends took the essence of the shooting
Yeah.
of Titanfall and put it in a battle royale. Even though that's not my cup of tea, I always said that. That's one of the few battle royales that had me for like a good 2 weeks, despite me hating that genre because of how good it
And
felt to play.
they even added the elimination from Destiny into it
Yeah,
as a permanent mode, which is a huge benefit because you get straight into the meat of a gunfight. You get to use your abilities, and you don't have to worry about any of the extra stress that usually holds
here's
you
what I've
back
been
from
noticing. A
battle
lot of people
royales.
are like playing these battle royales, but are not playing the actual battle royale mode. They're playing all these modes that lets you respawn, haha, or lets you do other stuff. Like like I see my brother play Modern Warfare. He barely plays the big map anymore. He plays the Alcatraz mode. That if you
Yeah.
get killed, you can get respawned in 40 seconds, or you get revived by your teammates. And now even Apex is getting more playtime by this 3v3 elimination mode instead of just playing the regular battle royale mode. What I've been telling, battle royale is dying. People already sick, and maybe people already finally sick of the dropping and getting killed and having to reload a new match. What a surprise! But yeah, it's like it's interesting that the community manager was so frank because he literally was like he didn't use PR speak. He was like, we're not working on it. But now then Respawn puts out be like, hey, who knows what the future holds? It's like either say you're working on it or not. Like it's like don't jerk your audience like that.
But they're taking lessons from their favorite developing team, Blue Box Entertainment,
Yeah.
Alejandro.
Blue
How
Box
could you
Game
be so
Studio.
insensitive? Um, yeah, it's just I guess my little 2 cents on it. I mean, like you, I love the idea of Titanfall. I thought it was such an underutilized concept of, all right, well, you're a first person shooter, but you get basically your
Tank.
kill streak tank that is a mech and is awesome, and but somehow is still really balanced because you could easily get wiped out if you don't know what you're doing. Titanfall 2, an amazing single player using the godly voice of Optimus
Optimus
Prime as
Prime is
BT.
BT.
Fantastic decision on their part. But in any case, like, they have such great stuff. It's just the fact that they put out their games at stupid times, or they make it exclusive for some reason, or whatever
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah. The
Um,
first one's still Xbox exclusive. That's insane.
I know. I don't get it. Like, eventually, at least put it on some other stuff, PC or PS4, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Just let more people play it. And then now it's like being taken over. Titanfall 2 is a hacker's playground right now. So if you
That's
like
the
even
only news you get in
install it,
Titanfall 2 is that it's just a hacker nightmare.
and not
And
even that, it's like it can brick your system if you start up the game now.
they
For a
patched
lot of
that out
people.
finally.
Oh, thank God.
If you heard that, then you can go back to it. But yeah,
Okay, cool.
when I
Um,
heard that, I was like, I'm not touching that because I have it installed on my PS5 because I want
yeah,
to platinum that game.
and
And
I love the idea of it anyway. But just to wrap up my thoughts, I mean, Respawn's been hitting it out of the park with Jedi Fallen Order, justifiably. So they got to work on that sequel.
mhm,
Apex Legends, you can't really take your hands off that because that can just spiral out of control, as that we've seen with touch strafing and all the problems that the PC players constantly whine about.
mhm.
I'll
And there's a
call y'all
third
out.
team there because they also put out a Medal of Honor VR game on Oculus. So now that that team is done working on that VR game, like what else are they working on? Are they working on another VR game? Are they working on a normal game? That is the big question with Respawn because they have staffed up. They have big teams. I mean, they had to staff up to take care of Apex. They had to staff up to properly work on whatever's next for Star Wars.
One good thing that I think about is, despite their requirements with Jedi Fallen Order, because that's not just for them themselves, but
Mhm.
that's working with EA and to Disney as well for Star Wars. But with Apex Legends, a lot of those people, I would think it's a lot of the same mechanics. I think they can easily jump back and forth between something like that with Titanfall 3 and with the way Apex Legends is currently. I would hope that they could take some people away from Apex Legends just long enough to make Titanfall
Mhm.
3 and then jump back in. Because a lot of I mean, your quality assurance, a lot of that extra polish it's being worked on for several years now with Apex. So I would think they should be able to easily just jump right
Yeah,
back into that.
I just want that series back because it was so complete. I will always say that to me, Titanfall was always special because I always saw it as the next evolution of Call of Duty. Of course, the people that created Call of Duty are the ones that created Titanfall. And to me, it just saddened me that the follow up was never as big as the thing they had to leave because of their lawsuit and being fired by Activision and all that. And then their previous thing continues to just be astronomically big. That it's so big that Activision can remove its name and just say Call of Duty presents Call of Duty Vanguard instead of Activision presents Call of Duty whatever. That's how big their previous baby has grown into a
It's not just a
sizable
brand
monster.
anymore, it's its own entity, I would
Yeah.
say. I mean, you could just say, I mean, anybody that's not even heard of even barely video games as a concept still understands that Call of Duty is a thing. And even if they don't know anything about it, I would say that it has transcended just about everything that you could transcend. It's kind of surprising that they never bothered to try capitalizing and jumping into the movie market again. But
Mhm.
with all of their games being movies, more or less now, I think that the only way they can go is down almost.
But when will that down be? That's
I mean,
crazy. It's like
people have been saying it is on the down for a long time, but then every once in a while they get a
one.
huge uptick with Modern Warfare in 2019 and Warzone probably making it the biggest it's ever been.
Will Vanguard be a down? Because a lot of people are very down after that beta, but who knows? They had the advantage of being the first shooter out since Battlefield got delayed.
True.
So
And that's going to help just out of the sheer convenience of it because a lot of people are their game systems are Call of Duty machines. And I've met a lot of those people,
oh yeah,
especially out in the boonies of America. Shout
the,
out to my boys out that way
yeah,
with the old pickup trucks lifted for no reason.
yeah.
Um, that's they love it and they'll continue to play it. So they need a reason to play something else. And
Mm-hmm.
who knows what that's going to be.
And that's the thing. Like, no one can blame Titanfall's quote unquote failure on anything more than EA. They're the ones that pursued that exclusivity with Xbox, completely misreading the market of where it was gonna go. You make an exclusive in the machine that was less popular and had all that nightmare, and then you sandwich the second game, much better game, a week after your primary shooter and before the Call of Duty. It's like I don't blame Respawn. It's like they're just responding to the hand that they were dealt with, but EA is at fault there. They could have had their Call of Duty. They had the Call of Duty people. It's crazy.
It hurts my soul
Yeah.
what happened to Titanfall. I'm glad it's getting some kind of recognition in Apex Legends and it's still set in the same universe so they can
Mhm.
always go back into it. I mean, I would say Valkyrie, the most recent character that they added, was the most related to Titanfall, being the daughter of one of the bosses that you personally kill, and
Mhm.
she wants to understand why he died and what happened, and you're just like,
Or one
oh.
of the characters was the one of the ones that created the record for the gauntlet of Titanfall 2, that racing gauntlet from the very
Oh
beginning.
yeah, I forgot
And
about
he lost
that.
his legs and he has like robot legs now. So they have a cool lore that they're kind of exploiting on Apex. The thing is that now Apex has tonally has gone completely off the deep end compared to where Titanfall is, that it's very
Yes.
I would be very I think for Titanfall 3 to succeed now would actually have to try to ape Apex as much as possible because that's the thing that now people really associate with instead
Mhm.
of what it originally was.
Might have to
So
be like a crossover game or like what a lot of people hope for Rainbow Six Siege, where it's a
mhm,
story driven game with all the characters involved, and then kind of jumping back and forth between all that. So
exactly.
I think they
So
could. It just have to, like Titanfall as it is, can't be exactly what it was, which
mhm.
is a shame.
It's a shame, but we'll always have Titanfall 2 for the few of us that played it and loved it. The
Alas, the world
the
still spins.
the multiplayer, it's almost dead now. It's hard to find a match, which
Yeah.
that hurts the soul more than anything. But Respawn, unless you have something to say, just don't say anything about Titanfall anymore, please. Or at least don't get our hopes up. Don't do that. Don't Blue Box Game Studios us, please. Final story, Paul. On Sunday, yesterday, Naughty Dog showed during Outbreak Day this past Sunday the first official look of the Last of Us HBO show starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, who, for those in the know, played Oberyn Martell and Lyanna Mormont, RIP to both of them, from Game of Thrones. While nothing else has been known about the show other than it being 10 episodes, at least for the first season, and game creator Neil Druckmann being heavily involved as an executive producer and even gonna be directing some of the episodes, the look is a sign that the project is actually happening. Naughty Dog also reconfirmed they are still hard at work on a standalone multiplayer project that they're still hiring staff for, but nothing else was said on Outbreak Day other than some merch. You saw that picture, right? The Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey from it looks good. It actually looks good. Like
looks all right, but I
it looks faithful to the thing.
Remember that all of the cool set pictures from Force Awakens were really awesome, and we know how that played out.
Force Awakens was good. I'll fight you on that one.
Okay, you know what? I mean, I loved it. I do. I'm just more thinking whatever followed it up. It's just the problem is like the disconnect can be there because you can look awesome on set. I mean, who knows what's going on with the new Dune movie, but it's like people see pictures on sets and then the reviews can be something.
Which, by the way, the
Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, but you mentioned Dune, the main character of that movie is named Paul.
Yes. Shout out for my boys named Paul. It's so funny when you have stuff like this crazy high concept work and then all of the characters are like, was it like Duncan and Paul? And it's like just so weird. But shout out to that. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like what we were saying is the quality of the movie usually isn't lined up, or TV show in this case isn't lined up with prop or set pictures rather. So I'm still skeptical about it. Neil Druckmann has a really powerful ability to do some awesome things with my heart. And I have to give him respect for it, but I also understand that what he wants is not at all what I like sometimes.
Yeah, especially after seeing part of the things that he focused on part 2. But he still wrote the first game, so and this first season is heavily focused on that.
Yeah. Which I appreciate.
Yeah, just the fact that there's a set photo, because I know that they've been filming and that this is kind of like a very high quality, like HBO is putting a lot of money into this, like building huge sets for it over there in Canada where they're filming. And the fact that they have Craig Mason, the guy that did Chernobyl, the highly acclaimed Chernobyl HBO series, he is the one overseeing this project with Neil Druckmann. So it's not that they're just putting anything like just to make it work. Not like what the garbage thing that's happened over with the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and freaking Mark Wahlberg as Sully, where
I honestly forgot that was the thing.
Yeah, that got a 2022 release. It's compared to like Naughty Dog disowns that Uncharted movie. It completely disowns it, and like they're not heavily involved with that. Like they're with Last of Us, so it's like it's
I'm picturing Mark Wahlberg from The Happening being like, no. That's not us,
Nate.
But then, like in Sully's voice. Oh gosh. Anyway,
so you can just compare that, just like how torturous that Uncharted movie has been. That it's been like almost 10 years in development, and this one was like greenlit quick. They got in production quick. It seems like it's actually happening.
I mean, it helps that the original creator is still like very heavily.
And he's gonna direct episodes. And he's gonna direct some of those episodes, so he's the creator. It's like Robert Kirkman working on Walking Dead. It's the main dude like overseeing a bunch of this stuff.
I just think that it's like from a faithfulness standpoint, I dig it, but I also I don't know if I have the same respect for the guy anymore because of like it's like your sliding scale of where you view humans' potentiality for evil or good, and then on one side you have Death Stranding and the other you have Last of Us. I don't agree with his like philosophically on what he thinks, like, oh, look at how horrible humans are, look at how terrible everything can be, how like just dour and depressing it all is, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done with that whole thought process now.
And that's why Death Stranding, which came out last Friday, like the director's cut, to a great fanfare and many turnaround opinions. That feels like the kind of tone you want to strike in a more post-apocalyptic game. Like Death Stranding is so earnest in trying to look for the best of humanity or trying to reconnect humanity despite
Yeah.
like an unseen threat and a calamitous disaster. And Last of Us just like dives deep into the mystery of like the horribleness of people um in that
And
kind of
I've
situation.
been living in the horribleness of people, so I'm
Mhm.
kind of done with that. Like, oh, look at how evil people are. I'm like, dude, I know. I
Yeah.
live in this world right now. It's
At the same time,
2021.
yeah, at the same time, it's like that's kind of where he went with the second one. The first game at least was the one that had the glimmer of light that was
It was a
Ellie.
lot more hopeful,
Yeah,
which I'll
so
give it that. I think it's just because I know it's so tied to him personally that, I mean, eventually he's going to try doing something like that
mhm. We'll
because it's
see. Yeah, we'll see. Like we'll see if this show is actually successful. What if it goes beyond? Because the first 10 episodes they say is the first game. The
right.
4 seasons that comprise the first game. That's where what show will be. Will it be a one and done? I doubt it because they're putting a lot of money into this, and HBO is looking for their next big Game of Thrones,
True.
and in which they still haven't found, and their Game of Thrones spin-offs are still kind of like withering there in the ether. They put up cast pictures, but I felt nothing watching those cast pictures, like the set pictures of those characters. Be like, yeah, I don't feel anything. That finale burned me hard.
Yep. Not going to
Um,
watch it. Not going to worry about it.
or I'll wait until I hear people say that it's worth watching. It's not something that'll be frothing at the mouth for.
Yeah.
But yeah, what if they remember the best parts of part two, Last of Us Part Two, are the flashbacks of Ellie and Joel growing up before their eventful
That would be nice.
breakdown.
I mean,
What if
more
the further
connection.
seasons are like them finally having a way to flesh out the best parts of part two, in my opinion, instead of like the more revengey section that was the majority of that game.
Mhm.
So who knows?
It's what worked about it is the back and forth between Joel and Ellie. And when you don't have that, I don't feel
Mhm.
nearly the connection that normally should be there. Because even in Last of Us 2, probably my favorite part is the flashback scene
Mhm.
where Ellie and Joel go through that
Museum,
hotel and all that stuff. The
the hotel,
museum.
yeah, the hotel,
Um,
the scary
right.
hotel, yeah.
I mean, I love that because I got that back and forth again. I didn't feel any connection to anybody else. That's
Mhm.
what made that game special to me, even more than the gameplay, which was kind of lackluster in some places. So
Mhm.
when you take that away, I no longer care.
Yeah, but to be fair,
So
on two gameplays where it shined, like it picked up
I
the
know
slack on the
that's
gameplay. Yeah, in the
they
second
picked up
game,
the
but the
slack
first one,
on the gameplay, but
yeah.
then they just ruined what I loved about it initially. So,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, that's what everyone else
Again,
says.
like what I
So,
mentioned with Xbox and Microsoft, they're like opposite mirrors. If they're the opposite
yeah.
sides of the different coins. Like the first game's gameplay, but its story was really good. The second game's gameplay, really good, but the story was you love it or hate it,
Yeah.
basically. I like that story, but I know where you wouldn't.
I used to like it, and then I used to hate it, and then I started to like it again, and now I think I just hate it again.
Yeah, it'll
Um,
go like that.
yeah. So
But you
there
got
we
that
go.
stranding now, and with that, that concludes the news. Things that like something that we want to insert as we finish the news. Like, what are some of the games that are coming up for this upcoming week? As far as I know, nothing. But next week there may be something. But just as a
Yeah.
reminder, Death Stranding Director Scott and Kena Bridge of Spirits were the two big games from last week.
Go play Kina.
Go play Kena. Absolutely. We'll talk more about those games and whatever else we'll be playing
Yeah.
on Wednesday. So,
One
Paul,
day.
this is our first news only show for Mondays now. I liked it. So
I did
we'll
too.
keep on going and I'll see you whenever we record next
Yes, indeed. And everyone, don't forget, press X.
to play.
Good night, everyone.
See you
Adios.
later.